for a worthy cause, the WIND,
Worthy-
AM
hey,
560, The
they
Answer.
deserve more respect than that. These are
Wasn't
friends
that
from-
respect?
No, these are our good friends from Food from the Poor, Todd Chatman and Paul Jacobs, and it's a pleasure to have you here on this Giving Tuesday. I haven't seen you in a while. You and I went to Haiti together, 3 years ago?
Has it been 3? It doesn't seem like a day over 2, but
Yeah.
it probably has been 3. Yeah.
But what I love about Food for the Poor, and by the way, our goal this year is to raise to provide food for a year, I should say, to 600 Venezuelan families that are now living in Colombia. We're going to talk about that in depth and how you can help and further explain how the need is. But when we went to Haiti, what I was so impressed with was how efficient Food for the Poor was. I mean, they have a very efficient center there in the middle of town. And what they do to communities and build villages is just unbelievable.
Well, Food for the Poor has been in operation for 37 years. And, when you do anything for that long, you're going to learn a lot of things, best practices in particular. And also, we're a faith-based organization. And so, credit to, we serve God and unashamedly. And we just have been blessed with great partnerships over the years. And some of those partnerships provide things like food, which allows us to keep our costs down, because a lot of times the food that we're asking our listeners to donate is actually donated to Food for the Poor. So you're paying for shipping costs, which allows your donation to go so much further in terms of how many families you're feeding in Venezuela. So that's just one of the many ways that Food for the Poor has gained efficiencies over the years.
Last year we focused on the Caribbean islands, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, St. John, that were hit hard by the hurricane. But now, Paul, just tell us about the need in Colombia and Venezuela. We've been talking about that socialist country and how it's literally starving people to death. The average Venezuelan, I found out, has lost 24 pounds since this whole crisis started, because there's not even garbage to eat. There's not even squirrels on the street to kill, to feed yourself. So it's a humanitarian crisis.
No, it really is, because you can't turn on the television without hearing something. If you're like me and you watch the news often and you see what's going on in Latin America and specifically in Venezuela, they have a government that has made it so difficult. Hyperinflation, the fact that they have not allowed any type of resources for like food resources to come in to help these people. We met a mom, Jenny, a mom that literally could not, and she had a regular job. This is not the destitute and the poor. This is everyone in Venezuela.
Formerly middle class, right?
Formerly middle class, exactly. And she had a regular job, and she said it ended up so bad 3 years ago that her 3 small children, could only eat once a day. And then it got to the point where the children couldn't stand it anymore. And she looked at me, looked at our team, and she said, I can take that. I can bear it. Yo resisto is what she said in Spanish. I can hold on to that. But my children, it was so difficult for them. And so she had to flee into a border city, Cucuta, Colombia, which is hours away. Just to give you an idea, it's about a 9-hour drive. Take a 9-hour drive on regular highways here in the States. Now add mountains. And then add the fact that you cannot drive. And mothers like that with their children have to take this arduous journey on foot that takes days, and hopes that on the other side in Colombia there's enough food.
And the president of Colombia has done a wonderful job of keeping the borders open to allow people in, because we're talking 5,000 Venezuelans a day?
Yes.
Or is it have subsided at all, or is it getting worse?
That's the last number we've heard.
The failure of socialism, of course. You
Yeah,
never hear
way to go, Maduro.
Bernie Sanders doesn't talk about the great miracle of Venezuela. He always refers to Sweden, which isn't all that socialist. But chronicle for us some of these horrors.
Well, and then you get across the border, and Food for the Poor has been working, and it's really by the miracle of the Lord, because what happened is Food for the Poor in 2014 began working hand in hand with our partners, our ministry partners in Colombia. And what we were doing is we were feeding the poor there. And so when it happened, it just so happened that as these individuals from Venezuela, these families are fleeing into the border cities in Colombia, we just turned to our ministry partners and said, vetted partners, and said, what can we do? How can we respond? And immediately they said, we need food. We need to provide these families who are coming across, because many of them are going back home, making this very dangerous journey back home.
Why?
Because we've heard of the term family separation. We've heard of this for so long, but it's a very different family separation in Colombia, in Venezuela. These are families, fathers who say, "You stay here. I'm going to find whatever I can, and I'm going to be back. I'll be back in a day. I'll be back in a week. I'll be back in a month. But you wait here. And many of these fathers, many of these families find food in Colombia. Then they go back to their home to provide for their family. So you're helping do that right now, not only providing for our ministry partners who are feeding families every single day, but also to families who are trying to keep their families together, going back to Colombia with food.
And so you have 11 feeding centers in this town, and I'll butcher it if I say it. What's
Cucuta.
Cucuta? Okay, I'll get it.
It took
No,
me
I can
months
do
to
it.
figure that. Yeah.
Cucuta. See, I already figured it out,
Easy.
right? So you have 11
Three
feeding
little syllables, and two of them are the same.
Cucuta. 11 feeding centers there that feed 9,000 people a day. What kind of lines? I mean, I can't even fathom the kind of lines and how long people wait to get food. So we need people to donate so that we can open up more feeding centers. Is that correct?
We are supporting those feeding centers. We are supporting any new opening feeding centers that our ministry partners are opening up. Right now, those 11 feeding centers providing 9,000 families, 9,000 people a day, and we're talking about 9,000 people that are coming in droves. We're talking about families, mothers just like you listening right now. Families just like yours with small children that they're not going to school. They don't have jobs. They are dependent upon whatever is available. And these are families like this mother, Jenny, that we met, who went from eating one meal a day. Now these meals are providing them multiple meals, sometimes 2 and 3 meals a day.
I know this is kind of a parochial concern, but when I think of Venezuela, and I know when Dan thinks of it too, I think of Louis Aparicio, one of my favorite baseball players of all time, good old number 11 on the White Sox. And he actually had to decline an invitation to participate in an baseball all-star tribute to Latino greats a couple of years ago because he could not do that while people were starving in Venezuela. He said he thanked Major League Baseball for the honor at the all-star game, but I can't celebrate when young people of my country are dying for their freedom. So, I mean, if you're a Chicagoan and you grew up loving Chico Carrasquel or Omar Vizquel or Louis Aparicio.
Yeah, make a donation on their behalf.
Yeah.
The number to call is 844-862-HOPE. That's 844-862-4673. Or simply go to 560theanswer.com and search for the keyword food. Paul, we're asking for a one-time donation of $300, which is really just $25 a month.
Yeah.
And what will that get them?
That's going to provide access to these feeding programs, these manna packs, which is how the food's distributed. They're actually prefabbed packages of food, rice and soy products and things like that, all in kind of a plastic container. They're actually made by churches and organizations here in the U.S., and then we ship them down there. So a family has access to those feeding resources for a year.
Wow.
Get that, for a year. A family of 4. Follow me here because I know it's early, right? Everybody's going, wait a minute, it sounds like you're saying you're telling me I'm feeding a family of 4 for a year for $300, $25 a month. Right. Again, back to what we talked about earlier, the buying power of food for the poor through these amazing partnerships. That's what you have the opportunity to provide today. So just really want to encourage you. It's so easy in a situation like Venezuela to get mired in the politics. We need to look past the politics to the people. There are people in need. There are families in need. Imagine if you woke up, because it's really, this is the correlation to our life in America. These were once, just a few years ago, middle-class people, teachers, professionals, and suddenly their economy plummets.
Oh, a loaf of bread is a whole month's salary.
Yeah, and so they've had no choice but to leave the country. So put yourself in their shoes and imagine, just ask yourself, what would I hope someone would do to help me and my family?
And Christian Caruso, he's a Venezuelan, and he has access. He's documenting all of this. He's born and raised in Venezuela. He can't leave because his brother is sick, and his mother recently passed away and said, please just all I ask is for you to take care of him. But they'll drinking water will stop for days, and they have a well reserve on the roof of their building, but that'll be depleted, and then there's no electricity. He said sometimes it comes on, sometimes it doesn't. So it's like hell on earth. Yeah. I mean, it really is.
And it's affecting millions of people. I mean, what is it? Upwards of 3 million people now have fled Venezuela, and more are leaving every day.
But other bordering countries are not letting them in. I heard. Well, they stopped.
Well, and Colombia's kept their borders open. To your point, grateful for that. But you have to remember most of these other countries, they're pretty impoverished themselves, and so the thought of how can we handle an onslaught of potentially millions of people when our own are struggling, and so
it looks a lot like tragedy. North Korea, because if you see from the space station, you'll see North Korea and there's no lights.
Yeah.
at night. And the same thing is in Venezuela right now.
Yeah.
So
It's
again, a way
tragic.
to help, 844-862-HOPE. That's 844-862-4673. Or simply go to 560theanswer.com, search for the keyword food.
I want to say thank you to Rudy from Schaumburg. Got us started this morning. $300 gift.
Rudy.
Thank you to Rudy, our first family today.
Rudy.
Great start to Giving Tuesday.
And also, too, if you're, make a donation on behalf of your well-fed children or grandchildren. That's a great thing to do because, you can only give so many gifts.
Yeah.
But if you go to them and say, hey, look, I made a donation in your honor to feed a family for a year, I think that's a wonderful
For
thing.
the dad who has everything.
Exactly. All right, Paul and, oh my gosh.
Todd.
That's
all right.
Yeah, it's all right. We only went to Haiti together. What's your name?
It was meaningful. I know. I could tell.
Amy, are you telling me I shouldn't get my wife the Peloton bike?
No.
And spend the $2,500 for one of these business opportunities here.
Yes. Right. Tell us about the
poor.
business benefactor.
Well, I will, in fact. Thank you so much for leading me into that. There's the Business Benefactor program. For a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, you'll receive 40 60-second commercials Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. on AM 560 The Answer. Call sales manager Anjanette Netkowski directly at 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951. Or visit 560theanswer.com and search for the keyword food.
And as always, we thank you in advance for your generosity.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. The Census Bureau facing challenges finding enough workers. Manufacturing production down in October, and a fight is on to save minor league baseball. Those stories are next.
Hi, this is Dennis Prager. It's been a big year for the Rational Bible, both volumes, Genesis and Exodus. They've been Amazon bestsellers since they were published. Writing these books is my life's work. Many of those who have read the books have called them life-changing. CEOs are now giving the books to their employees as gifts. At a recent event in Dallas, the president of a local company purchased over 500 copies of the Rational Bible Exodus to give to her employees. Regardless of your religious beliefs, or even if you don't have any, I believe it's so important that these books be read. I've asked the folks in the Prager store to give all companies that are buying at least 24 books a 50% discount on autographed copies of the Rational Bible, Genesis and Exodus. If you're looking for a holiday gift for your employees or clients, go to PragerStore.com and click the banner that says corporate discounts. Whatever someone's religious beliefs, they will enjoy these powerful books. Go to PragerStore.com.
The Census Bureau stymied by underperforming computer systems as it tries to recruit and hire 500,000 workers in time to take the census next spring. The Bureau's employment check system failed tests in July. Officials are scrambling to get it up to speed. Manufacturing production in October deteriorated